I swear, I am never reviewing anime again.
What's the problem?
I don't even want to talk about it.
It was Blood Sea, wasn't it?
No.
Bet you I'm right.
Bet you're wrong.
Bet you're a dick.
Bet you're an asshole.
Bitch, I wrecked.
Why do we love video games so much? Well, many reasons actually, and different people like different things about video games. Some people like to chop countless mooks to ribbons, others love when a game's story is engaging, and others still love to explore the worlds in which these games take place.
One reason we can all agree on is that video games are fun, especially when played with friends and not taken too seriously. However, when that second point falls apart, the threat of arguments arises, yelling ensues, and in the worst cases, even the best of friends could degenerate into the most bitter of rivals. Okay, maybe that's an exaggeration, but you get the picture.
These games are the worst offenders among games we've played, and are perfect examples of why it's not healthy to take games too seriously. In most cases, it's usually for some bullshit mechanic that seems to be designed to screw you over in favor of another player. But in any case, these games can have you at one another's throats in seconds in the worst case scenarios.
You all know the rules by now, and if you have your own friendship killers that we don't mention, feel free to leave them in the comments. Also, we should probably put a disclaimer here. Not all of these games are bad. In fact, a lot of them are really fun. It's just that they can get aggravating when shit hits the fan. And with all that said, let's get this thing started. The Bomberman series has long prided itself on its absolutely addicting multiplayer modes. I mean, you're getting the chance to blow each other up in a virtual setting with some of the most fun power-ups in head-to-head play.
However, this can lead to some pretty salty moments, and from my own experience, the worst of it happens in Bomberman Ultra.
Part of the sodium factor in this game comes from the power-ups the series is known for. Yeah, they're fun when you get them, but in the wrong hands, they can lead to some pretty aggravating moments. 3 in particular can really make for a mess simply when they appear.
The full fire power-up makes explosions reach across the screen, the red bombs make explosions pierce right through soft blocks, and the dangerous bomb creates an explosion with a huge radius. When one of these power-ups appears, it becomes a mad dash to get it before someone else does, which will most likely result in at least one player dying.
Of course, when a player dies, any power-ups they had will scatter all over the place, and if another player is nearby, they can clean house and proceed to wreck shop. Of course, even then you're not safe from the Ultra Revenge cart, and if a player in the cart kills you, he's right back in the game.
And one last point, power-ups can be kicked away just as bombs can, so you can just be a troll with them. Oh, you wanted this power-up? Nope, dead meme!
The truth is, with all the total chaos that's going around, it won't be long before things blow up in your face.
Corner. Shiitake mushrooms. Stir fry.
But
Now.
Don't you love it when a game's main source of fun is also its source of frustration?
yeah, this is one of those games made to be silly and not perform completely perfectly intentionally as a way of delivering wacky and over-the-top fun.
And it does work, don't get us wrong here, but when it comes to playing with friends, don't play Worms 2 Armageddon for too long.
Worms 2 Armageddon is advertised as what Worms 2007 should have been, adding a single-player campaign, new modes, adding the previous modes and weapons from previous games, and improving the online play. From that alone, Worms 2 is pretty sound on paper.
And it's pretty sound playing it. The game really does feel like time, effort, and care was put into the game to make it the best Worms experience possible. The new modes such as Fort and Crazy Crates really add to the depth of the strategy involved in playing the game.
So how does this kill friendships anyway? I don't see much wrong going here.
Rope race.
Oh!
Oh!
Are you kidding me? Save! Hacks!
Wacky physics can be fun and all, but eventually the hilarity does reach a breaking point of why can't this game play normally?
Destructible environments, death by water and wind, which can throw projectiles right back in your face, all add to some frustrating events, and most of them are completely accidental.
It's possible to make the game do as you tell it and, well, get good at it, but it takes quite a while to get used to, and as Flammy stated, playing this game for too long can cause you to get fairly frustrated.
There's not a whole lot else to say about it, as rope race aside, unlike Bomberman Ultra, which had specific elements that could result in black eyes, Worms 2 Armageddon has no specific elements, but rather the way the game functions when playing that results in the moment of, That happened how?
And believe us, we've got far worse than wacky physics coming in this list.
QG!
What?
It's time to settle the score. You, me, no items, Fox only, final destination.
You're on. It's game time.
Well, it's safe to assume every fanbase has its toxic members, which are normally louder than the healthy. Super Smash Bros. Toxic fans seem to sit in the Melee seat quite comfortably.
Melee on the competitive scene in particular has gotten to a point where at the time of Smash 4 entering the scene, players were booed and heckled off the stage so the Melee players could have their time in the limelight.
Meanwhile, on the casual side of the game, Melee is pretty unbalanced. It's not up to PlayStation All-Stars levels, but really, when you add a character like Pichu, which hurts itself with every attack and does less damage than Pikachu, it paints quite the picture of what Melee contains.
That's probably the most egregious example, but then there's things like wave dashing, which on its own can already be used effectively to beat your friends up. But even that isn't balanced, as every character has a different wave dash distance.
And this may be just a personal opinion, and I don't mind it most times, but jeez, this game gets a little too fast sometimes. I mean, we didn't exactly pull that opening joke out of the ether or anything, and if you can keep up with anyone on Speed Melee, I greet thee with thunderous applause.
One more thing! If you use the manual handicap to try and make yourself all-powerful, I don't think there's a god that can save you from your friends. Let's face it, esports wouldn't be where it is today if it weren't for games like League of Legends. This ever-changing and ever-evolving team-based MOBA has made gaming heroes out of some people, and villains out of others. Pray that the latter doesn't happen to you.
Yeah, as fun as the game itself can be, even the most dedicated players can admit that the community is downright noxious, to the point that you have to wonder if the Tribunal is doing its job.
This is especially true in ranked play, where there are times that your teammates will analyze your play with a fine-toothed comb and pounce on you for the slightest mistake. Your jungler miss a ganking opportunity? He's gonna get roasted. ADC engaged too early? He's not gonna hear the end of it. Top laner on tilt? He's not gonna be forgiven.
Then there's the concept of elo hell. This term refers to the experiences of players who seem to get paired up with the worst and most incompetent summers whom you ever wonder how they learned how to cast. Trolls who will throw their teammates under the bus for views, feeders who will just run blindly into fights knowing they'll just hand gold and EXP to their opponents on a silver fucking platter, and all manners of griefers. Good luck getting out of bronze if you have people like these on your team.
Of course, even if you're playing with friends, you have to keep a level head in tough situations. Otherwise, once things slip off course, it's easy for them to spiral out of control, and for your friends to start screaming and yelling in the chat box. On the other hand, if you can keep your team together and pull off the W, it's high fives and honors all around.
After all, friendship is magic.
Don't look at me, he's the brony.
I regret nothing.
Is there much we can say about Goldeneye that isn't common knowledge by now? We're all pretty aware that the game hasn't exactly aged gracefully and how archaic it is compared to first-person shooters nowadays.
I'll certainly agree with you there. Goldeneye isn't perfect, but just because it hasn't aged well, it doesn't mean it's bad, and certainly doesn't hurt to revisit. If you're playing by yourself, that is.
Why by yourself and not with a group of friends to go back and enjoy a game from the time that Rareware was at its peak and could seemingly do no wrong? Especially when the 4-player multiplayer is such a large selling point of Goldeneye?
Well, you could ask all the friends you have, or had really, that camped with laser or grenades just out of range of your lock-on.
Or how about those proximity mines that always seem to be right next to every damn weapon and ammo crate on every damn map?
There's also all of those wondrous cheat codes, like invisibility, because that totally doesn't make you an absolute dick to play with.
And then there's the act one takes if they truly have no value in their friends.
Ah yes, how could anyone forget what befell the players who chose the path of choosing such option?
Fuck
Mothering a job! Seriously, he's not even this short in the movies. Who or what screwed this up?
Oddjob, with his minuscule hitbox and the admittedly janky Kang vertical aiming, is at the epitome of nearly every friendship affected and nearly every ounce of salt poured on the festering wound that the multiplayer caused.
I don't know about you, QG, but I need a cup of Tim's after that segment.
Cup of what now?
Tim Hortons. Coffee. Canadian crack. Anyway, next segment. Okay, now that I'm nice, awake, and alert, I think I'm ready to...
Play some Contra?
Salt!
Oh yeah, we're going old school on this one. Contra is one of those quintessential games in the NES library and a classic example of Nintendo hard. One-hit deaths, constantly spawning enemies, you know, the works.
So you'd imagine that adding a partner would make the game easier, right? Well, that depends a good deal on how good your partner actually is at the game. If your partner is at your skill level or thereabout, you shouldn't have a problem. If there's a discrepancy, well, that's when the salt hits the fan.
You don't want your partner to be so much better than you that you hold them back, but at the same time, you don't want them holding you back either. Especially since if you're scrolled too far back, you could die by default.
The best example of this is the waterfall level. If you get too far ahead of your partner, you'll scroll the screen up, and if your partner hits the plane at the bottom of the screen, he'll rip in spaghetti, and he won't forgetty.
And worse yet, if your partner is a dingus, he'll likely run out of lives before you do, and if that happens, no encryption is going to protect your lives from his grubby hands. You're gonna have to pray to sweet, merciful Palutena that he has decency to ask first.
And Arceus help you if he's a big enough dick to press start before you finish putting in the Konami code. Trust me, you'll need all 30 of those lives. All of them.